Alright, in this recording we're going to work on bringing a character, maybe splitting it apart if it's coming in as one unit. So I'm going to go ahead and load student's project. Really great model so far, but now we need to get into uh, putting texture on there. So we go ahead and right to edit, and we want to go ahead and change this texture to a white tone so you can start to see what it looks like when you add the tones. Alright, so you can see a pretty good job with Marvelous and modeling. Alright, so if we go to Subtool, and we'll notice that it's all in one chunk. Basically we want to break it into parts and pieces so we can add color to each area. So I was like, I was confused and I thought, oh no, I'm not going to be able to work on it. But if you go to split and go to group split and hit OK, I guess it remembers all these different sections in here. And so what we want to do, ultimately, you could probably take this into Maya and delete. I would probably do that before you get started, but delete everything underneath the neck area here. Basically the whole body I would go ahead and delete and keep the feet and the hands and the head just to make it easier to for the game engine to understand, because we're trying to make this play. Alright, so we have, looking at, see if we can reconstruct a subdivide. So we can even do this with the face. Alright, so if we get up close we can see, we can go up the scale, use your move tool. Alright, so you can see a low division here. And if we go up, it goes up to our higher division. So keep working on the subdivision. Let's go, don't know how many times you did this, but let's go down to 1. Reconstruct subdivide. Let's do it one more time. Alright, so it looks like you had up to 3 divisions. Alright, so I'm going to use this face as a good example, because your cloth maybe need to be brought into Maya and possibly smooth it one division, but again this is for game engine, so go ahead and keep it. But we have the face, and I think maybe the shoes. Let's see what we have. Oh no shoes. So I think everything's fine. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and go to my subtool. I'm going to turn everything off. Just go ahead and select this bottom one. I have the eye wink. Make sure that black is selected, and then you can go and turn everything off. And we can probably get rid of the skull. We don't need that. So anything that you don't need, please get rid of it, because it gives it added weight to the character. So I'll move this down. I'm really just interested in the hat, or not the hat, the body. I'm trying to get rid of the hat. Alright, so we have that, and so what we want to do is UV master this. I'm going to show you how to UV map, and then add texture to it, and then also we're going to create a normal map. Alright, so we're at the lowest division. You saw how I quickly divided that. For some reason it remembered the history of that, which is great. So we're going to go to Z plugin, and we're going to go to, at the lowest division, go to UV master, and we're going to hit unwrap, and you can see it up here. Shouldn't take too long, and there we are, it's done. So the UV master is done. So what that does is basically, usually it splits it in the back of the body and kind of flays it open. So you can imagine the skin being pulled off the body and laid out flat. Alright, what we want to do is get away from the Z add. We're going to go to RGB, turn off the Z add, and this allows us to color instead of Z add. We'll be able to sculpt. You can hit X if you want, or turn off X for your symmetry. I'm going to go ahead and go down to where it says texture, and make sure it is actually not texture, polypaint, and we're going to hit colorize. Okay, that will allow me to paint, And I'm going to go ahead and go across this surface. Let's see, we're painting white on white, so that's not really helpful. So we have a huge brush here. I go ahead and go down. You can also hit S to do this. Also, you can hit D or go up to your geometry and go up to the higher division. If you want to make really good details, you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead, add some green. Again, this is not how you want to paint it. You can also do a spotlight to make this work better. All right, so we've done a little painting, and now what we want to do is send this out and for Maya. All right, so we're going to go into texture map, and we're going to hit create and create from polypaint. All right, you can see right here how it's created this basically a flattened out guy, if you can imagine if it was ran over or something like that. It's a gruesome thought, but just think about how it would be laid out flat. So we're going to clone that texture, and you can see it jumps over here. We're going to go to texture, and for this to work in Maya, we have to flip it vertically, and you see it'll go upside down. We export it out. I'm going to go ahead and kick it out and call it skin. And I'm going to save it as a JPEG, not a PSD. You can save it as PSD if you wanted to work into Photoshop. So go ahead and hit save. Okay. Sometimes you can't see this, and you hit return if you can't see the OK. Okay. Again, this is horrible painting, but again, you get an idea of how this works. You can also do spotlight. I've shown you that before in previous tutorials. You just go to texture, turn on the spotlight feature. Again, Z and then Shift Z to turn it off, and you can bring in a picture of a face and spotlight, and definitely hit X for that so it's symmetrical when you do that. Again, same procedure, export it out with your texture. Okay, so now what we want to do is hit Shift Z, and we're going to go to the lowest subdivision. Now what we want to do is create, since we go up to D, we have all these details on the face and so forth. If we hit Shift D, we can go ahead and create a normal map. So we go to where it says normal map, and we hit create normal map. All right. Again, this will not work unless you're at lowest division. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and clone the normal map. All right. So we can see that. Let's see. Roll over it. All right. You can see in the normal map over here on the right, you can see a little bit of the push and pull. So those will give those details when we get into our character in Maya. All right, so I think I cloned it. I'm going to go to texture, and I'm going to export this out. Whoops, I've got to flip it. Remember to flip it. It's hard to tell if you flipped it, but hopefully it did. All right, and we're going to call this skin and then underscore NM for normal map. And again, JPEG again. Could be a PNG if you want. I always use, so you can see now a little bit more of your details that you did on the face and so forth. So we hit OK. All right, so now we're ready to export out the body, and we want to export it out as the lowest division, not the high, because we want this to play into a game engine. So I'm going to go ahead and export. Let's see if we can do a Maya file, because you know if we do an OBJ, it'll be kind of fractured. So I'm going to call this body, and save it to the desktop and hit save. All right, so I hit open up my Maya file, body. Okay, this just takes a while, and it should bring up our character right here. If you don't see it, hit A. Now you can see it's huge. All right, so hit A. And hopefully it doesn't crash. Okay, so we hit the character. Okay, we hit 3 or 1. 1. You can see that's the fractured look. That's what it would look like in a game engine. We hit 3 is subdivisional. All right. So we're going to hit 1, and I'm going to go ahead and hit 5, and then 6 is actually going to bring in my colors. So let's say that didn't work out. So I'm going to go ahead and I think you guys know how to apply textures. So we're going to look at our body blend shape, and so we can see our normal map and also our color is here. So I'm gonna strip that out like it didn't happen. When you save it out, it remembers where the normal maps and everything, which is fantastic. But let's say it didn't come over when you saved it. So I'm going to go to rendering, lighting and shading. I'm going to assign a new material. Okay, I'm going to do a Lambert, so it's not so shiny. Ours was a Lambert. We're going to go to our file, desktop. We're going to do skin. Okay, and you should be able to see that. Also, we're going to go back, do our bump mapping, file, and we want this tangent as normal. And I think it's a checkerboard here, bump depth or bump value, I always forget. Let's do that one. You have to do either or. I'm going to do the skin, and we can see that. All right. All right, so now what we got to do is smooth this out, and we can't just hit 3 and expect it to work in a game engine like Unreal or Unity. So we're going to go up and go back to modeling, and we're going to go to mesh display, and we're going to soften edge. All right, so this is just a simple algorithm that will smooth it out, and you can see it's very smooth now. And with the normal map, you can see with the normal map it has creases. Even though it's a very low polygon, it has this illusion of all those details you did. So can't really see too much of the detail. You can see it around the ears and the neck and so forth. You can see all those details you added. All right, so you're going to do this for each of the objects. You've got the hat, the shirt, and the pants. Just take it nice and slow and create your textures, and this is how you bring it in. After you've textured it, you've brought into Maya with the textures and the normal maps on all of the objects. What you'll do is save it as either OBJ or FBX and bring it into Mixamo, and I think I've given you guys a good tutorial on that one. All right, good luck.